Welcome to This Week in Missouri Politics. A month left until some of the most exciting primaries in recent political history. And we are going to be joined right now by one of the candidates for governor on the Democratic side, House Minority Leader Crystal Quade. Welcome back to This Week in Missouri Politics.
Thank you for having me as always.
How's the campaign going? Looks like you're just damn near everywhere.
It's going great. Yeah, I'm actually in Kansas City right now and going to be heading over to Cass County today and over in Lee Summit. It's been great.
Fun. I've actually kind of enjoyed being on remote with some of the candidates that are out actually campaigning and talking to regular folks. It's been interesting for me to get to speak, even via satellite, to folks like yourself. What are you hearing out there in places like I see you just came out of Rolla? What are you hearing out there?
People are equally parts frustrated and excited about the election. What we're hearing everywhere, honestly, is that folks are really tired of big government overreach, which is a thing I know you talk a lot about.
Yes.
But we're hearing that on the ground. And that is in spaces around the abortion conversation to public education, so it's been really interesting.
So let me just ask you the question that I think every Democrat's talking about. The president had a poor debate performance. He is an older guy. Uh, And there's been a lot of folks at every level of government, but it seems like it's picking up here this week, talking about whether you should remain on the ticket. I know you've got a lot to say grace over without trying to plan a national ticket, but what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing from folks on both sides of this conversation within the Democratic, voter space of, we need to stick with the president. He's done amazing work, which I would echo, some of the amazing things that his administration has been able to do to folks who are concerned about it. And absolutely, it's a thing that I know we need to recognize those concerns that folks have. But look, I'm looking at this just like I did in 2016 when I would knock doors and folks would say, what's going on in Washington is just nuts. And people are very frustrated. What I can do as governor is focus on Missouri and focus on the things that matter to people right here at home. And that's exactly what I'm doing.
Well, I do see the point though. I mean, I think if you're a Democrat, Joe Biden has racked up a record to be proud of. I understand that. It almost like with Republicans, they were proud of Trump's record. But Trump himself, obviously, probably not the most moral guy you're going to run into. And the president clearly has shown signs of age. It is his success, even in a diminished capacity, does make it kind of hard to justify throwing him to the side because diminished or not, I think if you're a Democrat, you'd say he's been successful.
Yeah, I could go on for hours about the amazing successes that we've had. And right here in Missouri, we're benefiting from a lot of that, from our expansion to I-70 and 44.
Yeah.
That a lot of that came from the administration. And so I think it's really
And Lord
important.
Blunt.
And of course, yes, and our delegation for sure, making sure that money came down here. But I think what's really important is looking at the record and what accomplishments we've had. And again, in my position, I don't get to pick up the phone and call anybody from Washington and say, hey, this is what you should do. So I'm focusing on the things that matter right here at home.
Let's talk about an issue that I know does matter here. And for the first time in a while, I think you've got the wind at your back on the issue of abortion instead of a headwind. I hear Republicans say it's almost a foregone conclusion this IP will pass. I don't see, normally you see a team coming together, and maybe it's because these primaries are so competitive and there's so many candidates, they'll regroup after the primary. But it does look like the abortion issue is actually going to favor the Democrats at election time, maybe for the first time in a while.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can confidently say, as the only woman and only mother in this race, I have personal firsthand experience of how important being able to control your family planning is. And I mean, Scott, I've been serving for the leader for a long time. And I personally can't tell you how many phone calls I've received of women who went to the doctor's office during a miscarriage and were sent home told that you're not close enough to death, and doctors being really scared to engage in this conversation. And so
Is
it
is
is
that real? Are those
that
people you
is
spoke?
real.
I mean, because there's a ton of hyperbole on both sides of the abortion issue, and sometimes some of those stories on both sides, you're like, gosh, is that real? I mean, are these folks you've spoken to?
Yes, these are people who have called me directly when they went to local hospitals in Springfield, and they were, having medical issues due to their pregnancy and going into miscarriage, and doctors saying, you're not close enough yet. Go home and give us a call when you start bleeding out, so frequently. And it's a real thing. And I think that's it's easy to feel like we're going into hyperbolic conversations, but listen, Missouri has the most restrictive ban in the entire country with zero exceptions for rape or incest. And the life of the mother provisions are really scary. And I know that our providers are hesitant to move forward. You know, everybody's scared of a lawsuit, right? And that's what we're seeing here.
Do you believe that this IP measure will, from your perspective, right the ship on that?
I do. I think that this is a huge win for folks who want government out of their doctor's offices. Is it the end all be all? No. Missouri has, you know, some restrictive laws that we need to look at, absolutely, that go beyond this. But as I said, everywhere that I'm going, people are tired of government in their business, and this is another one of those places.
All right, let's talk about another campaign issue this week. It was made a lot that Jay Ashcroft isn't an actual like engineer that could go build a bridge, right? He runs his campaign. His primary qualification he touts is being an engineer, but you know he's not actually been an engineer. Kind of like Dr. Jill Biden. Jill Biden can't like prescribe you penicillin, right? She's not a doctor like a real one. I think Jay Ashcroft come under some scrutiny. What's your take from the other side of the aisle on it?
You know, I think it's important when we're talking about, you know, our qualifications that we are being truthful about them. But every profession has different qualifications for what that is, right? Like we know that he has degrees in that space, but under
Yeah.
Missouri licensing rules, you're not supposed to call yourself that unless you actually have that license. Not every profession is that way, you know. So I think
I'm gonna
it's,
put you on the spot then.
yeah,
It's one thing to say Jay Ashcroft's not a real engineer. Were you really in roller derby?
I was really in roller derby for many years, and I even have photos to prove it.
So let's talk about outstate. I mean, obviously, when you're a Democrat, you're planning on running up margins in St. Louis, Kansas City. You're talking about running up a margin in the city of Columbia. You're maybe talking about running, even winning Springfield at this point, the city. But really, Claire McCaskill and Jay Nixon, when they won, they would get 40% in Texas County instead of 28. I've seen you be in Rolla this weekend and around the state. What part of outstate Missouri is part of your strategy to win this race?
You know, I think it's important for Democrats that we're showing up everywhere. And my work as the leader has shown that. You know, our candidate recruitment is up higher than it's been since 2010. And we are showing up in spaces where we really haven't been for a long time. And so when we look at my pathway to victory, it is similar to looking at things like Medicaid expansion and these other issues that we know folks are with us on. Absolutely, we got to increase voter turnout, but we've got to get a couple 100,000 of folks across the state who will be willing to vote with us. And we absolutely can do that. And a big piece of that is showing up in these spaces that we wouldn't normally be in.
I've got to follow you on social media. I've seen you make laps around all parts of the state. Before we go, give me one spot you've been particularly enjoyed visiting.
I really loved a morning I spent in Monroe City. That was a space
Yeah.
I'd never been in before. And I went there for a Saturday morning meet and greet with candidates. We had over 100 people in this awesome barn that was converted into an event space in their cute little Main Street downtown. And that was a really fun experience.
The Avenue of the Saints and the community surrounding it is one of the prettier drives. Mark Twain was right when he wrote The Beauty of Northeast Missouri. It is a terrific spot.
Yeah, it was great.
And
I
I
really,
miss the old Democrat days that used to be in Hannibal with that pool that's reeked of chlorine. If you're governor, are you going to bring back a Democrat day somewhere with a terrible
absolutely.
smelling chlorine pool?
Well, hopefully the pool will be cleaner and it'll be a better. But anyone
I
who
think you
spent
need the chlorine to really set it up because you couldn't they could give all the speeches they wanted to. No one could get bored because that pool stank so damn bad. It kept everybody awake and paying attention or high.
every Democrat who's been here for a minute remembers Democrat days and has a story about it. So yeah, absolutely, we should bring that back.
I hope TJ McKenna doesn't talk anymore. I might be in trouble. Crystal Quade, thank you so much for joining us here on This Week in Missouri Politics. Good luck on the campaign. Be sure to come back and let us know how it's going.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with our opinion maker panel. We're going to bring in Jamie Berger running for Senate down in the Boot Hill after this.
For more than a century, the St. Louis Carpenters Union has shaped our communities. Through trusted alliances, we deliver skilled professional craftspeople while our business partners provide the kind of quality jobs that keep our economy humming. It's a blueprint that has worked since 1882. Turning Missouri into a right-to-work state stalls progress, wipes out jobs, and kills momentum. Right to work is wrong for everyone. Let's keep Missouri moving forward. Visit carpdc.org to learn more.
America is under attack. we need to lock the border down. As governor, I will fully support President Trump in securing our border.
Biden's open border means Chinese fentanyl is flowing into Missouri. Now they're coming for our land.
China is the enemy of our country and of the state of Missouri. As governor, I will stop China from bringing fentanyl into our state and from buying up our farmland.
Mike Kehoe will defend our borders and stop China. Paid for by the American Dream Pack.
When you come from nothing, you fight the odds your whole life. Growing up in rural Missouri, my mom waited tables, often working extra shifts to get by. I was the very first in my family to graduate from high school. I've committed myself to helping families just like mine. I'm Crystal Quade. As governor, I'll battle insurance and drug companies to reduce prices. And I'll continue to lead the fight to guarantee our abortion rights. I'll make sure parents working extra shifts today have children who can beat the odds tomorrow.
You know, Missouri farmers have been doing what's best for their land for generations. After all, no one knows what it takes to feed and fuel a growing global population better than they do. So why are trial lawyers threatening Missouri farmers' best defense against weeds? Our farmers don't need to be controlled. They need to be supported. Keep glyphosate in our state. Show your support at TakeControlMissouri.com. Paid for by Modern Ag Alliance in support of Missouri farmers.
Data captured by our state-of-the-art monitors helps us pinpoint the timing and location of severe weather more accurately and respond to trouble more quickly. Ameren Missouri's investment in smart technologies like this is one way we're improving reliability and restoring power faster than ever. Responding to trouble before trouble hits. That's energy at work. Ameren, Missouri.
Welcome back. This week in Missouri politics, busy time in Jeff City with the primaries, but we got 4 members of the Committee on Illegal Immigration and Crime, or Illegal Immigration Crime, I should say. Barry Hovis, Cape Girardeau County, welcome back, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Jamie Berger from Boot Hill, welcome back, sir.
Always good to be here, Scott.
Aaron McMullen from Jackson County, East Jackson County. Eastern Jack?
Eastern Jack.
Eastern Jack, I got it. And the most quotable man in the Missouri Republican Party, Jim Murphy. Thank you very much for making the show. You're our Alec Baldwin of the show.
Well, thank you, but I won't shoot you.
I'm going to write that promise down. Jim Berger running for Senate down there in Cape to replace Holly Rader. How's the race going?
I'm excited about the way it's been going. We've been knocking a lot of doors, been very well received. The fundraising's going well. A lot of support. I've been traveling to all the counties, all 7 of them. Visited all the county commissions and courthouses. So I think all in all it's going well. So excited about August 6th to get here, ready for it to be here.
Well, keep John Grimm in line. If he's going to be your constituent, keep him in line.
There's not a chance, you know that.
Aaron McMullen, you have maybe the biggest shoes of anybody to fill. You're running to replace Senator Rizzo, 3-way Republican primary in Eastern Jack. How's it going?
It's going perfect. We're hitting all the notes. Fundraising's going perfect. We're hitting a lot of doors. Mailers just started to go out, so I've reached minor celebrity, maybe D-less level now, so people recognize me. So it's kind of a new thing for me. People knowing my name before I even say hi to them. And yeah, it's going perfect. It's a textbook campaign.
What are you hearing on the doors when you're knocking on doors in Independence?
Well, Jackson County is a little bit unique because we have that local assessment property debacle that we had, where some of the constituents had their taxes raised over 100%. So a lot of people want to know what the A.G. Bailey lawsuit, like the updates and what's going on with that, because a lot of people are hanging on with bated breath to see if that tax assessment is going to get rolled back.
Well, that was a lick just out of the blue. Mm-hmm. My God. Jimmy, what are you hearing down there in Boot Hill from folks?
People want to see businesses opened up, less government intervention.
Yeah.
And the one thing they're concerned about too is the border. And illegal immigrants coming into Missouri. So it was so good that I was on this committee, and I think we had a real good committee hearing meeting today, and a lot of good questions, a lot of good conversations.
Barry, tell me about it. I mean, you hear folks say every county is a border county, and every state's a border state. How's that hitting Cape County?
So I actually reached out when I found out I was going to be on this committee, and I'm proud that they've asked me to be, because it is important. It's important. It's a national issue, and it's also affecting us here in Missouri. And so they're going to put some stats together for me on how many people that have been arrested that have illegal immigrant status and what the level of those crimes have been. So I think it's important that being on this committee, we get the information out to the citizens of Missouri so they can see what they think they want us to do to try to help alleviate that.
Interesting. Jim Murphy, I love the fact I got to the last F-150 campaign tour. I got to trail you around a little bit, and Jim had the best idea. he would go, and when we'd see those Ring video doorbells, he would record it, and he'd record his message. Now, I know others have copied that, but at the time, I was blown away by that. So on the doors, they actually answer, and you're not leaving a video. What are they saying?
Well, I mean, in St. Louis, we worry about the economy. We worry about crime. When it comes to this illegal immigration, it is illegal. I would like to thank you. Many years ago, you wrote a piece in your newspaper saying that Republicans didn't care, and I said, wait a minute,
some people
do. So we went out and visited workplaces and found and this is what came out in the hearing today that I don't think anybody expected, is that we're not only looking at crime that immigrants do, but crime that's being put upon them.
Yes.
Because they're being abused, as we saw. And they can't come forward because they're afraid they're going to be deported. But illegal immigrants especially are being basically used as slave labor in the state. They're being abused, they're being trafficked, they're being sexually assaulted. And that came out in this hearing today, and that was probably the most important thing that happened today. Because it's not just about what illegal immigrants are doing against our citizens, but what they're doing, what the cartels are doing to them, and how they're being abused.
I see some people, Barry, talk about, well, the Missouri could just deport the illegals. You're the person I would probably call and ask, can you do that? I mean, what could the state do?
Yeah, so just a few years ago when I was in law enforcement, if we would have stopped someone or picked up someone that had illegal immigrant status, no paperwork to be here, we would call the ICE agents and we would pick them up, they would come and get them, and they would put a detainer on them, and we'd ship them down to Charleston, which was, I think, the facility that had the relationship with Immigration and ICE Patrol. And so they would hold them. Now they're not doing that. I mean, there's been a policy change in the last 5 years at the federal level that's caused those agents to not pick up those people anymore, and they're either releasing them or giving them an extension on their detainer or whatever they're wanting to do until they can get into the federal court. And those things could go on for years because we were talking earlier, they're just so backlogged. And so I asked
the state of Missouri passed a law that says, I mean, does the state of Missouri have the authority to deport someone?
So I asked that question to the sheriffs. Should we pass something here in Missouri that if the federal government is abdicating their responsibility to pick these people up and hold them until they can get in front of a judge for a hearing, or detention hearing, should we hold them ourselves until at such time they say we're ready for them? I mean, that was one of the questions I asked. Now, it's going to be an expensive undertaking.
That is expensive, yeah.
Because I think the two counties along the Arizona border, remind me guys, how much were they spending?
$20 million, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Two counties in Arizona spending that much money just to hold the people that are coming across illegally. And I understand why the governor from Texas and Florida, this was brought up, they may be busing people to other parts of the country. I don't know if they're sending them to Missouri.
I got no sympathy for New York and Chicago.
No, because
at all.
I think when those states see the massive problem that's in Texas and then they start experiencing it, I think they're going to change their attitudes on illegal immigration and hopefully will support a national movement to get it back to where it needs to be.
Jim Murphy, everybody's seen the presidential debate now. Nobody can unsee it. At first, it was alarming. Then it just got kind of sad for President Biden, who, listen, I know the four of you are Republicans, but if you were a Democrat, I think you could find some things in his record to be proud of, just like Republicans were generally proud of Trump's performance. But man, I just think an average Missourian has to see that and think, boy, that you just almost feel bad for the guy.
I actually, at some point during the debate, looked at my wife and I said, I can't believe this, but I'm really feeling very sorry for him right now. But this is sad.
Yeah.
But what it says about our state of politics, that we can cover up something like that just for the state of politics and put the country in secondary thought, that's just absurd. And I hope we as a group would never do that. You know, we have to put country first. We can't just, you know, the man is actually incapable of being president today, much less run again. It's time for them to stand up for the country and do something about it.
You know, Barry, at first it's like, you know, when you're a Republican, you kind of start off cheering for your team. And look, I have to be the first one to admit Trump is not a perfect guy, but I do think he's capable of articulating the Republican message. I'm not sure Joe Biden can make the case for Democrats.
No, I'll say this. I watched that debate and I was disappointed in how I think that we've been able to allow President Biden to go as long as he has. I wonder who's making the calls behind the scene, but I would say this, if that was a Republican president that did the performance that Biden did, I'd be calling for him not to run again. That's just how strongly I'm about it. I want the best person in there for the country. And I think Trump has still got the abilities to do it. And, I'm not trying to be political about that, but he's got the much better abilities to do it than what the current president said he does.
Now, where we're from, they love them Donald Trump. Donald Trump could be like the king of Southeast Missouri by acclamation. Nobody'd say no. I do think he's having a good performance, but boy, right now, I mean, it's easier to look pretty good when everybody's talking about how your opponent may have Alzheimer's.
That's true. And one thing I've been proud about Trump, he hadn't bailed off in that too much yet.
Been smart.
He's kind of letting them eat their own, which has been wise on his part. Because I thought during the debate sometime he should have left some of the questions go when Biden answered, but it always refer back to those. But I think he did a good job on the debate stage.
Aaron, in your neck of the woods, you are running in a primary right now, and you look around the state. Where does Donald Trump overperform? It's not Central Missouri with the conservative Catholics. It's not the evangelical folks in Springfield. It's the Boot Hill. It's South County St. Louis. It's Jeffco. It's Eastern Jack. That's where Trump overperforms. But still, you've got a lot of folks in your district that are going to vote for Joe Biden or whoever the Democrat is, and probably think highly of him. But boy, you just feel just kind of bad that his family's not stepping in, or somebody, right?
Right. I mean, in the press has found themselves in a bit of a quandary here because they have basically gaslighted the American public, anybody that said that he wasn't fit for office, and now they have to either change the narrative and try to get him to go out or go all in. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they carry the narrative moving forward.
I think the press, and your general press is left-leaning, and at campaign time it looks more than a normal time. But I think that they hate Donald Trump. I do believe that.
Yes.
And I think that some folks in the press have some sense. They do go to a few normal bars, and they do probably can tell that normal folks are not going to unsee what they saw. And Joe Biden is not going to put a very good foot forward, and Donald Trump will probably be reelected.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody sees that. I know that even the DNC has pretty much written off all competitive Senate seats and districts because if he's on the top of the ticket, they basically.
Well, I mean, if I'm you and I have you're running to be the nominee in the top Senate race in the state, you got to be like, come on, Joe, stick it out. You can do it, buddy.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You got this.
Yeah, 100%.
Even though I tell you what's interesting, a guy like Jerry Nolte, in a tough district to replace Lauren Arthur, Maggie Nurnberg, very talented politician. Jerry, uphill fight. Maybe the hill's not so high if Joe Biden's on the top of the ticket.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, interesting. What about in Chesterfield? You've got a three-way primary with Gregory Boland and Harder. The winner of that takes on one of the best Democrat recruits I've seen in a long time.
Absolutely.
In Joe Peerless.
Absolutely.
If I'm Joe Peerless, I'm like, oh come on, man.
Yeah, he had a real chance. If Biden sticks around, it's diminished quite a bit.
I think it might. Give me a prediction. Is Joe Biden the Democrat nominee for president on the Missouri ballot?
You're looking at me on that one. That is a great question. I think that he stays because I think if it would have been done quickly, but see, they're adjourning up at the federal house, and I don't think there's going to have enough time for them to be able to do anything if they think that, was it the 25th Amendment's going to have to be kicked in on him? I'm trying to remember which amendment that was, I don't think that they get it done.
Do you think they throw him overboard?
I think they put him out on the stage for the debate because they didn't know how to get rid of him. This lets them eat him up.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think he stays. I think inertia is a heck of a thing in politics, and I just don't think we can stop that train.
I think money is the lifeblood of politics, and I think if the money people have abandoned him, he's not going to make it.
I hate, it's bad TV when I just say I agree with Jim, but I can't put it better than that. I don't think he'll be there, and I do hope that whenever he does step aside, I hope he does get his due. He has served this country for a very long time, and while you may not agree with his points, I think he's an admirable person, and I hope he does get at least a little run there of his due when he does, if he does step aside. Because I do think
they'll build him a library. He'll be fine.
Yeah, there's many jokes there. Let's talk about this governor's race. Jim Murphy, I remember you and I at an event, actually in honoring your son. Gosh, about two years ago.
Right.
And Jay Ashcroft, by all accounts, had a 30-point lead on Mike Kehoe.
Right.
That lead is gone, and Mike Kehoe is in the lead with Bill Eigel making some ground up.
Yep.
Tell me where the race is in South County.
I believe in South County it's Mike Kehoe all the way. You know, he started in his career in South County as a porter at Sinclair Ford.
Yep.
He washed cars for a living. And I have a very similar background to him, growing up with a single mother, and you know, he worked his way up from nothing on what he did, not what anybody ever did for him. And he will tell you that, oh, you know, all these people helped me out. I'm going to tell you, people only help people that are helping themselves. And Mike Kehoe helped themselves, built a career, built a business. Has grown in this. I think he's going to make it.
Where's it at?
So I think it's probably a 50-50 split between Kehoe and Ashcroft in southeast Missouri because his name recognition. I've been going out to some of the rural areas. I play cards, some of the old farmers out there in the morning, and all of them know Ashcroft. They know the name.
Right.
And of course, we'll get to talking about that. I think Eigel's in the mix. There's a concerted effort with people going around door to door with, they've got their handouts that they're doing, and they're doing a whole slate down the line with Bill Eigel at the top and everyone that kind of lines up with him under that.
All right, Aaron, am I wrong to think that if you go to the Baptist church, you're supporting Ashcroft? If you go to one of the mega churches, you're supporting Eigel, and if you're a Catholic, you're supporting Kehoe?
I would 100% agree with that. I was actually knocking a Catholic portion of my town, and that it actually came up in conversation that he was voting for Kehoe because he was a good Catholic. So.
Give me some predictions here. Not who you're supporting. Who's going to win that primary?
I think Kehoe wins.
Kehoe.
You think?
Yes, sir.
You think? What do you think?
It's close.
It's so close. I can't really.
Who was it close with?
Kehoe and Ashcroft.
I don't know about that. But who's going to come in second?
Now that's a real good question. I think Eigel might come in second.
I hate this. I love having him on, but all right. With a minute left, who won the week?
Oh, I'm going to say the committee that we just went on, which is illegal immigration and crime. I think that was something that's good for Missouri to hear, to know that we as legislators up here do care about that, and we're going to try to come up with solutions to help it.
Senate Bill 190 fix that the governor signed helps all the seniors across the state of Missouri.
1 week.
Not to pick that scab, but the Kansas City Royals, they just won a doubleheader against the St. Louis Cardinals.
The little brothers chiming in now.
Maybe a little Indian rug burn on top of that.
Yeah. Kick us while we're down. Who won the week?
My daughter-in-law, Kayla Murphy. Her and my son came upon an accident on 270 a couple of days ago where a gentleman was struck and was laying on the middle of the road with a severed leg, and she didn't drive by like most people did. She jumped out, started performing. She's a nurse and did everything she can to save that man's life, and I'm so proud of her, and I'm proud of my son. And
As you should be. That's outstanding.
Congratulations.
Can't top that, but I got to tour this week the St. Louis Crisis Nursery. Those folks do amazing work every day. I didn't even know a lot of this work was done. The St. Louis Crisis Nursery, just tremendous folks. It'll touch your heart. We hope you'll plan to join us next Sunday for This Week in Missouri Politics and at MissouriTimes.com and all of our social media platforms. On election night, we're going to be broadcasting here, calling winners and losers. Maybe see two of these guys picture pop up on the TV. We'll see you back here next week for This Week in Missouri Politics.
This Week in Missouri Politics is sponsored by the Missouri Automobile Dealers Association, Ameren, Spire, and the United Electric Cooperative.